recording. All right, so this will be on YouTube later. Okay. All right, people are still popping in. All right, so I'm gonna talk about accessibility. Why do we care about accessibility? Because obviously we want all students, all parents, all stakeholders to be able to access our content. You know, we may think we know our students and what our students need, but we also have to start thinking about their guardians, especially in this remote learning setting. So we may have a guardian or a parent who may be using a screen reader, and I'll just clarify now that immersive reader is not a screen reader. Immersive reader is a reading enhancement tool. A true screen reader is built into like the operating system of a computer, and it helps that person navigate all of the windows and all of the activity on their computer. So immersive reader just helps someone read a page better, but a screen reader really helps them actually use the computer in all the ways they need to use the computer. So hopefully that helps you out and kind of thinking about what we're going to be talking about moving forward. So I'm going to go over some Canvas accessibility basics. So I have like 10 tips that I have in a wakelet that I'll share with you and go over that you should always remember when you're creating your Canvas pages to make sure it's as accessible as possible. Then I'll talk about Bitmoji classrooms, how you can make those accessible, because I know that is what you guys want to know about. Yeah, you have to start thinking about like, okay, it's going to take your time to make your Bitmoji classroom, and then it's going to take some time to be accessible. So is that a quick win, or is that like a big project that has a lot of impact? That's going to be really up to you as a teacher. So we'll get to that point. And lastly, then we'll just have discussion with any remaining time. Again, this is on my personal Zoom account, so our time is now limited, but we'll see what we get to. All right, so first thing, I kind of, going back to that Bitmoji classroom, is it worth it? This is an image that I like to use a lot when I think about projects that I'm doing or tasks that I'm doing. Is it time efficient? In remote learning, we're going to really have to start managing our time and thinking about time in a different way than we would in the face-to-face classroom. So when I'm thinking about projects, I'm thinking, is this like a low impact task that doesn't take much time? Well, that's going to be like a fill-in. That's like a low impact, low time. There's also a similar matrix that's called the Eisenhower matrix that would say like that's something to pass off to someone else if you can. Then like high impact, low effort. Those are your quick wins. Those are your projects that can make it, it can have a high impact. So some of you may feel like a Bitmoji classroom falls into that, like, oh wow, I'm going to have a really high impact and it's really not too hard for me to make this and keep it accessible. For some of you though, you may feel like, oh wow, now making a Bitmoji classroom is a high impact and a high effort thing, and it's worth doing for me. But some of you may think, oh wow, it actually doesn't have that much of an impact, but it's a lot of effort, and then it just becomes a thankless task. So that's a good way for you to think about doing this accessibility stuff, because there is really no option to accessibility. You have to do it. It's just like then all the other things you're doing, think about how they're going to play into your time management. So with that, I'm going to exit this. And so I've shared, and I'll put this in the chat. This accessibility wakelet. Everyone can see it on my screen, correct?
Yep.
All right. So there's really 10 steps to making sure your Canvas classroom is accessible. And I'll discuss them, and then please, I'll pause along the way, and then you can ask me questions. So the first thing, and I have a little checklist here that you can print out if you like to print things out and check things off as you do things. I also have 2 videos here by people that use screen readers, again, kind of differentiating what a immersive reader is, a reading tool, from a screen reader. And I think if you watch these 2 guys talk about how they navigate the internet and the computer as a blind person, it will really help you understand the kind of impact you can have on how you design things in your course and how you're going to be making them more accessible. So those are 2 really great videos to watch. All right, so the first thing I have is to make sure your videos have captions. So when you create a video in Canvas Studio, you need to make sure that you request the captions, and I'll show you how to do that now. Let's see. So I'm in Canvas Studio, and I've uploaded a video, or I've created a video of myself. You're going to go into that video and you're going to request captions to be made. Now the captions are only about 85% accurate. So after the captions get created, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to edit those. So let's see, I'll do this one for example. So if I have a video that I've imported or made, I'll click on it. And I'm going to go to this link that says captions. And here it says captions managed. I'm going to delete these captions to show you what it will look like originally. All right, it's going to look like this. It's going to say captions request. You're going to select the language that the video is in. So if you're a foreign language teacher and you're speaking completely French, you could select French. That's fine. And then you're going to click request. In a few minutes, it will email you that your captions have been created, and you'll be able to come back here and click review and publish. Then you'll be able to read through the captions to make sure, you know, like this looks really weird, PWS-GM.dash, that's something I'm gonna have to edit, okay? So you have to make sure you edit your captions, and then once you have edited them, then you can publish them. You can always go back to the published captions and edit those again. So any questions about editing? Captions. Any questions? We're good there? Good on captions? Okay. All right, so that's number one, and I have a little video here about that as well. Number two, make sure your images have alt text. So when you insert an image onto a page in Canvas, let's see, I'll just go to a course here. Creating a redirect link, sure. So you're going to put images in your page, and you need to make sure you have good alt text. Now, alt text isn't just about adding alt text, it's about making sure there is good alt text. So on that Wakelet, I have a link to the web accessibility, a big resource for that. It tells you how to write good alt text. Because good alt text doesn't say an image of George Washington, it can just say George Washington. Or maybe it would be George Washington crossing the Delaware. You want to be specific and provide context for that image. And that guide that I have linked in the Wakelet will really help you see what that is. Let's see, do I have an image here? Okay. So if I'm editing this page, I put an image on the page. It's taking a while to load. Here's my image. When I click on it, I get image options. This side panel will open up and I will get something. Now you'll see this already has bad alt text. So it just says this, the file name that came with the image. So I want to change that to screenshot of rich content editor box showing where to get to HTML side. So you want to have something descriptive that will actually be meaningful for that person who can't see. Now, if it's a completely decorative image, you can check this box. So if it has no context, is not important to the actual understanding of what's on that page, you can check that decorative image box. So if that you had a banner at the top of the screen, that could be in that case. Any questions about images? All right. Say done, and now that will have the alt text, and I will save my page. All right, so that was number two. Number three, using headings. So your computer, if you're using a screen reader, will help the person get to the information they want quickly if you put headings in. So if you just put all of your text in as regular text, the person using a screen reader is not going to see the different levels or groupings of text that someone might see visually. So let me show you what I mean. So here on this page, the Canvas itself, any heading or the title of the page, it already sets as heading 1. So the person with the screen reader, that will be identified to them. They'll know the topic of the page. But if I wanted to say, add another heading, wanted to say, steps to embed a web page, okay, you'll see that currently I just have this as regular paragraph text, but I need to change that to a heading for that person to know, oh, this section is going to tell me the steps. And then below here, I could say another heading, example of embed, and then put this as heading 2. So then that person using a screen reader, their little navigation window that's going to talk to them is going to say, heading, embed a web page, heading, steps to embed a web page, heading, example of embed. They can skip then to the section that they want. We're probably used to doing that kind of headings thing by just changing font size. So we don't want to do that. We actually want to use those headings to help that person using the screen reader navigate to the location and the text that they want. You know, people with vision have an advantage that they can just kind of skim through something. So we need to create those headings so that the person using a screen reader can skim and get to the information they want quickly. Any questions about that? Can you set it as headings and then change the font size afterward, or does that negate the headings? It does not negate the headings. So yeah, you can set it as headings and then change the font size. All right, the next item on the list is add direct links for embedded materials. So for instance, here I have this Google slide presentation that I created. Like that would be how people are sharing most of their Bitmoji classrooms, are embedding those Google slides, okay? So to make this accessible, you'll see that above my Google slide presentation, I put a direct link to it. So if I'm a person using a screen reader, instead of using this embedded option, I'm going to open the link and go directly to the actual screen. That way my screen reader will have all of the functionality it needs for that into that Google slide presentation. So add that direct link if you're going to make a Bitmoji classroom. All right. Any questions about that? Adding direct links?
If the Bitmoji classroom is just for decoration, doesn't have links within it, would you still put the website?
So if it's it's an image, not an embedded slide.
Correct. Like if it's an embedded slide, but it's just intended to be there as an image.
That I would download that as an image and then put it as an image on the page and not the Google slide.
Okay.
Yeah. If it has no clickability, I would just download this slide as an image and put that on your page directly.
Okay, thank you.
And then mark it as a decorative image if it has no information.
Correct. Okay.
It's just, oh, look at me, I'm in front of my little chalkboard, like welcome to my class. Not necessary. So decoration. All right, so then I have a picture here or image here about embedded materials, linking them. Same thing for any other stuff you do, like a Nearpod, a FET, a Padlet. If you embed all those things, put a link directly to it above it. That way kids also do have, even kids not using screen readers, have the option to just open it in a new window.
Katie, will someone with the read aloud, the thingy, will it tell them it's a link, or do we have to say the following is a link to the picture below?
You do not have to say the following is a link. The screen reader provides them that information.
Thank you.
Yep. Same thing when you're writing alt text. You don't have to say image of in the alt text. If you read this link of how to write good alt text, you don't have to put image of. The screen reader will help the person know that. So that information is already provided in the screen reading stuff. All right.
Katie,
Yeah.
There's a list of manipulatives, math manipulatives that is going around on Facebook, and it seems to do this the Google slide.
It's embedded. You can embed those materials.
Classrooms.
You're breaking up a lot.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yes, you would also need to directly link those embedded math manipulatives, correct. Anything you embed, a Padlet, a Nearpod, a FET, a podcast, put the link directly to the website where it is held. Yeah. YouTube videos.
Is it
YouTube
recommended
videos already
put it
have,
above or below?
I would recommend putting it above
Above.
the direct link, yep. And then below the Bitmoji classroom, you're gonna put all the links that are included in there, and I'll show you that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
all right. The next thing, when you do put a link in, hide the words into their context. So you don't want to just paste a link and then see all of the link stuff. You want to put it as like a word. And so, for instance, this is our school district's website. You wouldn't just paste that link. You put the words there. That way the person using the screen reader knows the context of the website they're going to. Same thing for a PDF. You would describe what the PDF is, and then after the PDF, put PDF in parentheses. Any questions about that one? So YouTube videos, they already have a link to open in YouTube directly on the video. So you can, that should be fine, but you could always add, if you put the link in Canvas, it turns it into an embedded video. So you can't really add the link to YouTube, but on the YouTube video itself, it has a link to go to YouTube directly. All right, number 6, ensure that all of your shared documents are accessible. So if you put a document in your classroom, you need to make sure before you put it in the classroom that it's accessible. And you can do that when you create the Word document with the accessibility checker. And I'm not going to show you that right now because we're limited on time, but here's a video that will show you how to make sure in Word that all of your documents that you create are accessible. So you would run the accessibility checker, and then you could save it as a PDF and put that in your classroom, and you know that it's an accessible document for sharing. All right, accessible tables. Now, here's a big one. I have seen a lot of people using tables for formatting. So you're wanting to put those buttons on your front page of your classroom, and so you're putting a table so they all line up nicely. That is a big no-no, okay? Tables are for data only. Repeat, tables are for data only. They are not for formatting, okay? Again, person using that screen reader, it's gonna get to the table, and it's not going to make any sense for them, basically. So yes, as visual people, the table is going to help us make those buttons lay out and look nice, but just for this person using the screener, not accessible at all. If you are presenting data and you need to make a table, follow these directions to make it accessible. Basically, you have to create headings like we had on the paragraph styles. You have to create headings at the top row of your table, and then associate each cell in the table with that heading. So they know, hey, 1956 corresponds to this column year of, when the rates of voting were up. So accessible tables, just avoid tables if possible, unless sharing data. Any questions about that? No, there's not. Yeah. There's not an on-table option to have columns. Yeah, I know. All right, check color contrast. So this is just this is a small thing, but making sure that if you are adding images, especially some of those buttons, that the font in the words on the button are clearly seen on the background color. So this is a color contrast checker. We'll talk about how to basically check that the colors are visible and contrast enough. You don't want to have white words over a cream background. It's not going to be able to be seen by someone, and maybe not even visual people that can see clearly on different types of device screens might have issues with that. The color settings on your monitor might play with that. So you really want to make sure that the text and any background colors have a good contrast. All right, then number 9, use the built-in accessibility checker. So in each the bottom corner of the rich content box, you see this little guy in the circle standing there. You want to click that after you've created your page and make sure that it is accessible, okay? However, this accessibility checker doesn't get everything, okay? It's not going to get bad grammar. It's not going to get bad spelling. It's not going to get alt text that doesn't make sense. So you know how I had that original alt text that just said like the file name? It's just going to be like, oh, they have alt text, not that it's actually good alt text. So if there's anything in that box, it will pass muster. So it's going to miss a lot of the things that really it takes a human to check for. So you need to make sure that your spelling's good, your grammar's good, that you're not using tables inappropriately, and that everything has a good alt text, and that your videos are captioned. So those are things that this is just not going to catch. There's some other things that Carla Tilgner, our webmaster, has found that the accessibility checker just does not get well. And so she really recommends that we use this Wave accessibility checker. It is a Chrome extension. I have it up here. And when I turn it on, it will check the accessibility of the page. And a lot of it is going to be like for Canvas is Canvas itself. And that's not stuff you can check. You're just going to want to look at the alerts for things that are in the actual stuff you created. So if there's alerts like on the navigation, you can't do anything about that. You just want to look for the alerts on anything that you've created yourself. So that's step number 10 on my 10 tips for accessibility. Any questions? All right, and then wrapping up with the Bitmoji classroom before I hope we just don't run out of time and kicks me out. So the first thing is you have to make sure that all of your slides itself have alt text. So when you're putting a slide, you're in your Google Slides and you add an image, you need to right click on that image to add alt text. So for instance, here's my image. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to alt text and I'm going to add that text that tells the person what the image is. So for your little Bitmoji girl or boy, you need to put, this is the Bitmoji, a character of me, the teacher. So you have to add alt text to all of your images in the slide. That's step 1 for your Bitmoji classroom.
Maybe I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Are all of these features the same if we're using PowerPoint? Because not all of us are a Google school. If we're using the Office 365 PowerPoint, it's just a different way to get to all of it, but it all works the same way.
They have alt text, yep.
Okay.
Yep, it should be the same. You should be able to right click on an image in PowerPoint and find alt text.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you're gonna give it that alt text. If you do that and you set all the images up in your PowerPoint or your Google slide, you're good on that step. Then step 2 is you're embedding it, right, into the classroom. Then you wanna make sure to put that direct link above it to that Google slide or that PowerPoint presentation. That way someone can open it up and use a screen reader with it. And then the last step to making sure it has accessibility is putting all the links below it. So if you have like a lot of things, like I'm going to show one of my teachers, like this is her Bitmoji classroom. She has all of these little things. For each little thing that you can click on, she really needs to put a link below the image that would take that student directly there. So that person using a screen reader could go to all of those places independently. So I know it takes away the cute, but accessibility is first. Well, accessibility and content are first, and then the cute is all below.
Katie,
Yeah,
if we're not embedding it as a Google slide, but we're embedding it as a picture, then just that single picture needs the alt text, not every image within the slide, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's just that decorative image, you're golden. And that's what I would kind of recommend if you're really into this. Just make the cute header image, call it a decorative image, and then, go about your day. Because if you keep adding to this Bitmoji classroom and it keeps changing over time, you're going to have to keep changing all of these links down here. So it's going to be a constant double process for you of changing the links in your Google slide and changing or PowerPoint and changing the links on the page.
What if we embed it as a PDF?
Still have to do it.
No, I realize you still have
Yeah.
to do but it's just the single alt or single thing saying it's PDF and then the links underneath, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So, I would, if it was me and I was really dead set on the Bitmoji thing, I would just make the decorative image one and put all the links below. I think that's the the best way. You could change, and you could change your banner image seasonally. Like maybe your Bitmoji classroom changes for the holidays. Then it's just one image that you're updating, and you're not having to do all the links all the time in 2 places.
I have a quick question about accessibility on videos.
Okay.
So I plan on doing like videoing myself going through the PowerPoints. Do I need to, I mean, so I'd have to go through all my PowerPoints if I upload those as documents and do
Alt text
for every image.
Yep.
What do you do for the video besides the subtitles?
That's all you need, is you need to caption your video. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to put the link to the certificate in the chat, just because I don't know if we're about to get kicked out of my 40-minute limit on my personal Zoom account. But hopefully that was helpful for you. And, you know, accessibility, key thing to keep in mind when you're making your classrooms. I'm going to stop the recording as well.